You're listening to the Feed Your Wild podcast, a conscious lifestyle show about all things nourishing for your body, mind, and soul. I'm Vanessa Rodriguez, and join me for candid conversations with changemakers, exploring health and wellness, food as medicine, intuition and spirituality, and nature-based practices that will transform your health and feed all parts of your wild self. Welcome back to Feed Your Wild. Welcome. Today we have a jam-packed episode. We not only are continuing our discussion, this 3-part series on the podcast that I'm doing on the alchemy of becoming a new earth intuitive healer. So your intuitive healing journey as a practitioner, healing artist. And we covered the first 2 parts. And if you haven't listened to those, I highly recommend you go back and you listen. We are moving into the 3rd essential component that you must have in order to practice intuitive healing in the highest and most holistic way. And not only that, but to actually make an imprint, make an impact, make a difference in this world and in somebody's life. So if you are here to be of service, this component, this part, is absolutely essential. And we're going to cover that in just a moment. We are also covering this lovely full moon in Sagittarius that is happening on June 3rd or June 4th, depending on where you are in the world, of course. This is the rose moon, the strawberry moon. So we're going to cover that as well. I'm also going to share a super exciting bonus that I am offering as a collaborator with Evolutionary Herbalism and Saja Papam in their program that is opening doors today. I have a super fun bonus for you. So if you've been diving into Saja's Herbal Alchemy free training series, which in my humble opinion is just phenomenal. I think that he does an amazing job. He covers things that and puts pieces together, things that nobody else is really talking about in the same kind of way. So if you haven't tuned in, there is still time. You can still sign up, and you can sign up for that using my link wildlyrooted.com/herbal alchemy. That'll take you to the free training. Sign up for that. Go through the 3 videos that he has available. They all are out and available now. And he has also opened doors to his special alchemical herbalism program, which he hasn't opened up doors for in quite a while. So this is really exciting. This is one of my hands down favorite programs I've ever done. And I have signed up as a partner and collaborator with Evolutionary Herbalism. So I'm offering special bonuses if you join us using my link. Okay, so I'll share more on that later. But first, let's get into the astrology. Let's get into the cosmic profiling of what the F is going on in the world right now. If you've been tuning in energetically, you might have felt that the second half of May was very quick. It was full of twists and turns and ups and downs. I feel like it went by super fast, and it's only going to continue. This kind of pace is going to continue into June. We have Mercury that is moving out of the shadow phase. So it was retrograde, and now it had been in its shadow zone, and now it's moving out of its shadow zone. It's still in Taurus, but it's moving really quickly through June, moving through Gemini, and Mercury rules Gemini. So I talked a little bit about Gemini in the last episode when we talked about your divine message and Mercury as the planet of communication and movement and technology. So when we have Mercury moving really quickly, especially in one of the signs that it rules, Gemini being an air sign, there is lots of talk. There's lots of information. There's lots in the ethers, the interwebs, right? There's quick communication, a lot on social media, news. There's just a lot of information in circulation, or you might be attuned to it a little bit more. So it can feel kind of quick and overwhelming. So remembering to pause, take a break from social media, take a break from listening to the news. In fact, you could take a fast, a technology fast, a news fast. I haven't, to be totally transparent, I haven't tuned into mainstream media, I don't know in how long, because it is just so incredibly toxic, so full of bullshit. I'm sorry I have to say that. The way that they play on people's emotions, on a subconscious level, it is horrendous. And I have no apologies in saying that. I tend to get my sources from alternative avenues, independent journalists. I'll tune into international publications, although of course those are also, could be considered, many of them, mainstream media too, but they are looking at it from a perspective that's outside of this bubble that is the United States that I am living in. So I find it helpful to get that perspective. And if there's something that is really important for me to know, I'm going to find out about it, right? I'm not like in a hole or a hermit. So I really encourage you to think about how much you need to tune in and be tuned in and tapped into mainstream media and communications, and how much of it is really impacting you. That's a really big piece here that I think is important when we have a lot going on with Mercury and Gemini. Then we have Uranus that is moving forward into Taurus as well. And Uranus, according to astrologers, it could represent this higher octave of Mercury, so to speak. Uranus is considered a planet of awakening. And then we also have Jupiter in Taurus, but it's also conjuncting, which means it's really close to or on top of the North Node. So the North Node is the path that we're moving toward. It's the future collective path of growth, right? Of evolution. And that's in Taurus. So the planet of Jupiter is this really expansive planet. It brings expansion to anything that it's really touching. So this can absolutely be touching in on the future development of humanity, right? The vision for humanity that is connected to Taurean themes. So nature, food, earth, money. It's going to stay in Taurus until next year, May of 2024. And typically, I've talked about this in previous episodes, Jupiter is considered a benefic. So it can be a very supportive planet, a positive expansion, depending on where it's falling in your chart. So take a look at where Taurus is, what house. Taurus is in your natal chart, and that'll give you a little bit more information and insight in terms of where things might be expanding. And because Jupiter has this 12-year cycle, you can look back 12 years ago in this same kind of arena where Jupiter was in Taurus and get an indication of how it might show up in this upward mobile spiralic way, you know? So it might be similar to something that was going on 12 years ago. Now, there is a caveat. Sometimes it can expand things that don't feel so good. So, for example, I mentioned this before again, but with the sixth house, that has a lot to do with our health. So it could be, if there are active health issues, it could expand awareness or consciousness around it, maybe some flares. So it may not be comfortable, but ultimately it is for our highest good. And a lot of times we can be in like a super challenging, crunchy, painful moment, and it doesn't feel positively expansive at all. But then you look, and when you move past that in that dark night of the soul, so to speak, you can look back and see the gift in it and see the beauty in that journey. So I want you to really, if you are in that right now, connect with your future self that has moved beyond that and has grown from that experience, looking back and really connect at the heart level of that higher level of awareness and vantage point. Because sometimes that's what we need in order to get through these really contractive moments. So this Sagittarius full moon, it's happening at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. So you can take a look at your chart of where is that, what house, what's going on there. And with Sagittarius, Sagittarius is linked to independence, freedom, optimism, idealism. It's all about truth and honesty and integrity and really wanting to find solutions and to get out there. It's also connected to the law, along with Libra, of course. Libra with the scales connected to the law. But we're looking at cosmic law and natural law in addition to man-made law, and also belief systems and the laws that we sort of create internally for ourselves. Sagittarius is a fire sign, so there can be extra fiery stuff happening here. It's also mutable, so there is a sense of adaptability with Sagittarius. As I had mentioned about Jupiter, Jupiter is the guardian or ruling planet of Sagittarius. So there is that movement toward expansion, and the bow and arrow, the archer, is linked with Sagittarius. I really think of this archer that's holding and pulling this bow and arrow with the arrow that has a flame at the end of it, and seeking where to go next with this arrow. Sagittarius loves joy. So in addition to freedom and courage and justice, Sagittarius love joy. I can attest to this. Well, who doesn't love joy, right? But this kind of energy of the seeker and truth finder and optimism is something that I feel is really welcomed after a pretty heavy eclipse season and kind of rectifying things after that. Sort of like looking around at the big changes, the big shifts that many of us have experienced, whether they were internal or external in your world. And now bringing this expansive, optimistic fire to your home, to your life, and looking at the ways that we can begin to illuminate what needs to be cleaned up, so to speak, in this aftermath. Full moons, of course, being connected to completions, culmination. So there's like highlighting or culminating of something. And of course, you can look at the house that this full moon is falling in that might give you a sense of what is going on there. There's also closure with full moons, typically. So again, really illuminating and shining a light on anything that we didn't see yet or that we haven't known before. In old Europe, the June full moon was called the rose moon, which you know I love. My favorite of all time, rose, that is such a healer for the heart, protector, yet allowing for our beauty and medicine to bloom. Rose is deep medicine and really calls for us to look at the medicine within ourselves in our blooming process. This moon is also known as strawberry moon. And with both of those, there is this sense of juiciness and sweetness and blooming and joy. One thing that I thought was really interesting when we look at the position of this moon and where it's at in degrees, it's conjunct or right next to what's called the Great Attractor. And I first learned about this from a couple of astrologers, one of whom is Pam Gregory. And she talks about the Great Attractor as this cosmic vacuum, so to speak. So it's this gravitational anomaly. And this vacuum, this cosmic vacuum, has this incredible force of gravitational pull that can literally bend time and space. And so it's believed that anybody who has natal planets or angles in aspect, especially conjunctions, within about 2 to 3 degrees of 14 degrees of Sagittarius. So 14 degrees of Sagittarius is where the Great Attractor is. Those folks tend to have this intuitive faculty of precognition, right? So they could kind of see what's coming around the corner. They have a sense of what's coming. And when we have this moon, this Sagittarius full moon conjunct the Great Attractor, it can open up this precognitive faculty for the rest of us to get a sense of what's coming. It's opening up this, you could say, a portal of vision, a window that we can peer into. And so a lot of people will start to intuitively sense what might be coming their way around this time with the full moon. We also have Neptune in Pisces at 27 degrees of Pisces, and it's squaring the galactic center. So the galactic center is sort of like, it's what it's called. It's the center of our galaxy. And that's at 27 degrees Sagittarius. And it's said that people who have planets and angles or conjunctions close to the galactic center are super sensitive to energy. They feel other people's energy. They're tuned into galactic energy fields and communication. They often can work as healers or therapists with energy or communication, galactic communication. And I can attest to this. I have my natal Neptune and my ascendant right there on the galactic center. A lot of us that are around my age have that placement too. So it's not uncommon. And I do see a lot of people in my age bracket that while they may not be healers or therapists, they're definitely tapped into a level of consciousness or a vantage point that brings a depth to what it is that they're here to do. So I actually see a lot of activism with my peers, people around my age. I see a lot of people that are kind of like rebels, right? Heretics, people that might see things differently in their particular area of work or study. Neptune. So when we think about Neptune, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. Neptune is that watery, highly intuitive planet connected to unconditional divine love, connected to the divine, to oneness, to source. So with this position, so the Neptune in Pisces squaring the galactic center, that is happening all the way through 2024. That is bringing an increased psychic sensitivity to the masses, really. And sort of like with that, this potential experience of other levels of consciousness, of other dimensions. Your dreams might expand and get wild. You might start being communicated with or communicate with other beings of higher levels of consciousness. And there is a sense that this linear space-time, this sort of 3D reality, Earth realm, can feel dreamy or like not super real. And you might start losing a little bit of a grip on this 3D reality. And that, quite honestly, if you haven't already been doing this work, if you haven't already experienced this, like some of us have been experiencing these things for quite some time, and some of us our entire lives. At first, it's incredibly destabilizing and scary, like especially if you don't have an understanding of what the F is going on, or of cosmic evolution, of the spiritual world and planes, these shifting levels of consciousness, and you could say dimensions. Then there could be the WTF is going on here for a lot of people. And I really see this as sort of like it's part of our collective evolutionary process or ascension process, where we are moving into higher planes and levels of consciousness as a collective. And some of us are already kind of communicating or plugged into higher levels. And when I say higher, it's not like hierarchy as in like higher is better. It just is a different way of existing, a different level of consciousness. And there are those that have not tapped in yet, and this is part of our collective movement toward that. So this is definitely an opportunity to connect more easily with your higher self, with your guides, your teaching spirits, your ancestors, angels, whoever you feel really called to connect with through these higher planes and realms. This time right now is especially opening up availability, sort of like that telephone line, if you will, for many people who maybe didn't have that before. Just be aware that if you are experiencing things like that, that is considered a spiritual awakening, and you can feel like you're going crazy, literally. And you most likely are not. And you just need to really connect in with people who understand what you're going through and who can guide you and support you. I'm sure there's many resources available out there for free. If you want to get in with a super tight-knit group of intuitive healers, you can join my program, the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway, where we are having these kinds of conversations all day, every day. So you definitely don't feel alone. But find help, find support, find community that gets you, that isn't going to call you crazy and gaslight you, because you deserve to be supported and connected in with community in these really expansive times. Like I said, Sagittarius is represented by the arrow of the archer, and that arrow, Sagittarius wants to fire that and send that arrow with great precision. But here's the thing, it's like a NASA mission, right? Where you can have all the precision, all the calculations, you could do all the things, quote, right. But once that arrow leaves the bow or the spaceship goes out into space, there are so many variables that can influence what it is actually going to happen, where it's going to go. We don't have control once we let go. I mean, we never really had control to begin with, but we like to think that we do. And sometimes we get to that destination that we were seeking or pointing to, or we get through the mission beautifully. And sometimes we quote fail or we totally miss the mark. So this is just a reminder to check in on where are you pointing your bow and arrow? What are the things that you are doing that are within your control to ensure the greatest potential of the arrow going where it is you actually want to go? Or is it pointing at a destination that is not actually what you desire? It's coming from someone or somewhere else. So getting really clear on where you're aiming, what direction, where is it that you want to go, what are your desires, what are you putting your energy toward, and are you actually showing up for it in the highest way? And what needs to be in place in order for you to do that? Now, when we look at things from a medical astrology perspective, Sagittarius is connected to the hips, the thighs, the lower back, the butt, the sciatic nerve, the autonomic nervous system, and also the liver. When we look at it from the perspective of tissue states, Sagittarius as a fire sign, a very active fire sign, can bring a lot of heat. And sometimes that could lead to heat excitation, which can often look like inflammation in the body. It could also lead to dryness and atrophy because it's been so overheated that there isn't that moisture. There's no movement. It becomes brittle. When we look at potential imbalances, like if somebody has a predisposition for some imbalances and issues and diseases that are Sagittarian in nature, these are often connected to inflammation of the muscles, things that are impacting the lower extremities, so like gout, hip injuries, strains, like straining of the hip flexor or broken hips. There could be low back injuries, very often accidents or falls that can be sports related. Those are connected to Sagittarius, especially if you're on a horse. There can also be issues that stem from what we would call hot blood. Hot blood meaning there is some issues with the liver. It's causing inflammation. That liver isn't able to really filter the blood as it's meant to. And we can see this heat in circulation through the blood, which can cause fevers and systemic inflammation. I'll share a little bit of my experience as a Sagittarius rising. I have had definitely issues with sciatica and hips in the past, hip pain in particular. And it really came out when I was pregnant. I mean, mostly because I'm kind of a little person and having that load on my hips and my hips really having to expand to create space. I had so much pain going on in my hips, but it wasn't because of the pregnancy. I mean, I know that I carry a lot of intergenerational trauma, ancestral trauma in my hips. I've known this for a really long time. I've been working on it over the years. And there are some things that just really take time. And I have come into a deeper understanding of a slower healing process, or what our wonderful friend Megan Liebman calls slow medicine, in the lessons and the journey through that healing over time. That really it's I truly believe so much has to do with divine timing and understanding and awakening to things in their proper timing for you. And I've had to come to terms with really allowing that. Now, my hips are way better. Like, I'm not experiencing sciatica or hip injuries at all anymore. But that doesn't mean that in the future there could be a flare. There could be a revisit of those issues, which I see very often. And that can happen with, the astrology too. So just be aware that maybe some old stuff around that could pop up, and to take care of yourself. It's not fatalistic. There are absolutely things that you can do. And this information is really provided to help empower you and to prepare, right? I will say that in my experience working with a lot of people, and in my personal experience, a lot of these Sagittarian issues that are long-term. So of course, if there's like an accident or a fall or a sports-related injury, that could be a trigger for something. But if they continue long-term, there absolutely is a connection at a deeper level to mind, spirit, soul. And we want to look at that. So one of my favorite resources for this is John Sarno and his books. So one of my personal favorites of his books is The Mind-Body Prescription, Healing the Body, Healing the Pain. He really goes into a mind-body connection. He's a doctor who's a specialist in musculoskeletal pain disorders, and he has lots of experience and data that really shows the importance of diving into our emotions, the energetics and the emotions of what's in the body, and how they are absolutely connected to our pain response and what we experience in our body. So I just want to offer that up as a resource for you if you've had these issues chronically, especially back issues, sciatica, hip stuff. I highly recommend checking out John Sarno's work. He also has a book on back pain specifically, but this one is kind of a general one that goes over all the things: the mind-body prescription, healing the body, healing the pain. This also goes in line with Sagittarius's gift of truth seeking. Not afraid to seek the truth. And that absolutely connects in with what you might be experiencing on a physical level as well. Diving into the truth behind that, what is tethered to that? What emotions, what beliefs, what traumas? And how can you work at a truly holistic level? Movement, dance, especially shaking your hips, like that's beautiful medicine for Sagittarius. And also diving into studies and philanthropy and metaphysics, creativity, bringing your fire to these areas. When we're looking more from a food and herb lens, we can look at what we would call anti-inflammatories, which so many plants and foods that are out there that fall under this giant category of anti-inflammatory, right? So we'll talk about which ones specifically, but also how to tune in to what is most appropriate for you, which gets us into alchemical herbalism as well. But moistening herbs, moistening foods, things that are going to bring water and moisture to quell the fire and the dryness. Liver tonics, of course, because I mentioned the liver can absolutely be affected. So you want to pay attention to anything that is going to impact or influence liver health. One of my favorite things to bring in is castor oil packs. That's an oldie but goodie. And I have found it incredibly helpful for so many clients, and myself included. And paying attention to things like processed foods, alcohol, of course, all those things that can impact your liver health deleteriously. Some herbs supportive for and connected to Sagittarius include yellow dock, Rumix crispus. Yellow dock is one of those that is really helpful for the liver, also the intestinal tract. It's quite bitter, but it could be really helpful for bowel movements. Also, arnica. Arnica, especially in its homeopathic form, is so powerful as a healer for pain. I have so many stories of myself having gone through painful injuries, or my partner, especially as a farmer. There was a lot of physical injuries there that would happen over the years. And homeopathic arnica, both topically and taken internally, is a lifesaver. So powerful. And even just sitting with the plant can be really a really powerful experience. And another one that I love is calendula. Calendula really being such a profound herb for the lymphatic system and the movement. And we know that for especially musculoskeletal disorders, for hip action, back pain, the lymph is so important, and movement and flow of the lymphatic system. And as relates to detox and your liver health, really key. Calendula is also known as a beautiful skin and wound healer, and has that bright, yellow, fiery, joyful, playful energy that is so often connected to Sagittarius. There are so many others. Those are just a few of my favorite. The thing that I love about this time and this full moon with Sagittarius is this reminder to not only be that truth seeker, freedom fighter, moving forth with fire and precision, but also to be in your body while doing so. To be anchored to your hips and to your back and to your legs, your thighs, your lower chakras. It's so important that we stay embodied, because it's so easy to want to expand beyond and leave the body, especially in these times where we're feeling into these higher levels of consciousness that are coming in. Which brings me to the third essential component of this 3-part series, and the alchemy of becoming a new earth intuitive healer. Now, the first part, we covered sulfur, the soul, your energetic signature, and the importance of connecting to that as it pertains to your healing work and your soul path. In the last episode, the second part, we talked about your divine message, your unique mind, your spirit. And in alchemy, this would be Mercury, the messenger god, serving as the bridge between the creator and the created, the soul and the body, the art of transmutation personified. And therefore, the importance of you connecting to and understanding your truth and your divine message, and activating and amplifying yourself as a bridge and a channel. And in this final component, we are talking about the body. Yes, your structure, your divine container, your holy vessel, your unique body. In alchemy, this would be connected to salt. This also includes your material expression in this world. So, of course, your physical body, but any receptacle for the energies of Mercury and sulfur for your mind, spirit, and soul. It needs a container. And salt in alchemy is also identified with self-knowledge and wisdom. Very Sagittarian, right? Salt contains the elements of water and earth. And it really represents your physical body and the space that you create, as well as your connection to the earth and your body's ability to perceive and receive and purify your holy vessel. This also includes your body of work, the container for your services, for your packages, your branding. It's the home. It's the home for your soul work, for your energetic signature, for your mind, spirit, for your ideas. Salt is the fulcrum. It's the bridge. It's the key. It's the key that holds the present moment of these really ineffable qualities in nature of Mercury and sulfur, of your soul, mind, spirit. There needs to be this 3D container that is on Earth. Hence, New Earth Intuitive Healer. That's why we're all here, right? In Earth School. For the manifestation of spirit. It must be brought down to earth because this is where it's taking place. This is where the real work lies. It's like having the GPS, the coordinates, the fuel, but you ain't got no vehicle. You don't have a car if you don't have this essential component. Getting clear on your body of work and your physical vessel, treating it as a divine temple that it is. If you don't take care of your body and you don't create a body of work, how on earth are you going to do your work? Are you actually going to be able to be of service and follow your soul path? You can't. So this is fundamental. And it's one of the things that I think gets bypassed a lot because very often, especially in the intuitive healing arts, we want to get to the sexy stuff of, channeling in guides and connecting to soul level information, working with the Akashic records, right? All of that is really beautiful. But if you don't have a supported body to channel and contain all of that, if you don't have a way to purify and take deep, deep care of and nourish your body, then none of it is sustainable. You're going to get run down, thrown off track, probably experience a lot of physical challenges along the way, and you can't do your work in the way that you desire. You also can't get out there if you don't have a body of work. Now, there is a caveat. Of course, we are evolving beings, and we're also co-creating with forces and impulses. So it's not just us when we're creating things in life, right? It truly is co-creatorship. We will evolve our body of work. It will look different over time. For some people, it'll look radically different. It really depends on your story, your trajectory, your journey. So don't get too attached to your body of work. Just like your actual physical body that will age, that will bear the brunt of your life story. You'll have wears and tears, and that's a beautiful thing. But we have to take care of our body so that we can sustain that and grow with that. So attachment to the physical or the vessel is not what we're talking about here, but what we're talking about here is hosting, being a host and a vessel for the divine, for your own divinity in your life here on earth. So of course they all work together, these three components. And I go even deeper on this topic and how they all work together and the pitfalls and how to move through blocks and challenges inside of my private training, which I offer for those who apply to the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner pathway and are accepted, then you get access to this private training where I go much deeper with this topic. And if that resonates and you actually are interested in our 9-month mentorship and mastermind for intuitive healers, then I encourage you to apply and go check that out. But this is also incredibly intuitive. You can simply sit with yourself, take this opportunity with this Sagittarius full moon to connect with your body, with your heart, with your mind, with your truth. And ask yourself, what needs your attention? What needs your love? Where do you start? You already have the answers. I guarantee it. We just have to get quiet enough and create enough space to begin to hear it in the way that we are meant to. Now, this discussion, this 3-part discussion on the alchemy of becoming a New Earth intuitive healer, plugs right into the teachings that Seja Popham shares over in his program called Alchemical Herbalism. So if you are interested in herbalism, in the healing arts, and you want to work with this Western alchemical tradition as a complete system of medicine that works with plants to cure diseases of the body, spirit, and soul in a truly holistic way, then I recommend you check his program out. There aren't too many people who know much about alchemy in its actual practical application way of teaching it these days. And one of the top experts on the subject really is our friend Seja over here, who's been practicing both herbal alchemy and clinical herbalism for well over a decade. I have done the training myself years ago. It really is hands down one of the most comprehensive herbal trainings that I've come across. And it integrates clinical herbalism, alchemy, spagyrics, medical astrology, Ayurveda, Western herbalism, all into this really beautiful, synchronistic, powerful system that you can work with. And of course, like I mentioned in the very beginning of our episode, because I know this program has potential to take your work with plants to the next level, I know it did for me, and I have worked with spagyrics myself. I've supported clients in navigating their health and utilizing spagyric plant medicine. And of course, through the Akashic Records and alchemical understanding of health, it has taken my work to a level that I never anticipated. So that's why I partnered with Seja, because I've done his trainings, I know what's in it, and I'm really excited about it. So I have an extra bonus of my own on top of the bonuses that he already has for his program. And when you enroll in alchemical herbalism this week, utilizing my special link, then you get access to this Akashic bonus. So I want to quickly share a little bit about it right now. My exclusive bonus experience includes a private mentorship and intuitive guidance that I don't share anywhere else. So bonus number 1, you get access to the Akashic Healers office hours. So this is really fun. It's 4 weeks of mentorship and asynchronous support where you'll receive laser psychic intuitive coaching and guidance from yours truly in your alchemical journey of healership. The Akashic Healers office hours includes 4 weekly office hour days on Voxer. So that's a walkie-talkie messaging app. And you'll get access to voice messaging, Akashic intuitive insights, and mentorship available for a few hours on those specific days. So if you have questions about your path as a healer, how to integrate what you're learning from all of your programs and trainings into an intuitive healing practice that aligns with your soul path, how to break through your biggest blocks, what they even are, and identify and tap into your innate intuitive gifts. Or if you have specific questions that come up through the alchemical herbalism program, while you can absolutely, and I would first ask the community over at Evolutionary Herbalism, you can bring your questions over to me since I have done the training and have a deeper insight in that realm too. This kind of coaching experience is only available inside of my higher investment intuitive healing practitioner program, but now it's available to you. And there's bonus number 2, access to my private workshop, Dare to Shine Healer. Break through imposter syndrome and amplify your intuitive gifts. This is an immersive session for practitioners and healers for overcoming one of the biggest blocks holding you back from your soul path and medicine. You'll get 6 months access to this pre-recorded workshop where we go through a unique and intuitive process to identify your core roots behind your imposter syndrome, unearth how it's showing up in your life, and clarify specific action steps to not only break through imposter syndrome, but to really begin to reclaim all parts of yourself, especially your intuitive gifts. You'll get all of that for free. If you choose to step into alchemical herbalism and utilize my special link, you can go over to wildlyrooted.com/alchemical herbalism, all one word, wildlyrooted.com/alchemical herbalism. That'll take you to a page that gives you all of the info that I just shared and the links so that you can go ahead and sign up. I'm really excited if you do and connecting in with you later in this container. And for those of you who decide not to, there is still so much available to you inside of Sage's free herbal alchemy training series. I believe it's still available until the doors close June 8th. So all of this is available until June 8th when doors close. So take advantage. And of course, let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm over on Instagram at wildlyrooted. You can DM me or you can just shoot us an email, hello@wildlyrooted.com. That completes our 3-part series on the alchemy of becoming a new earth intuitive healer. I would love to know your biggest takeaways, ahas. Did you like this discussion and what you want to hear more of? I'm looking forward to connecting more with you. And until next time, sending all my love. Be well.